in pulling this out on our own?
Well, you can work as a team. I'd like you to talk as a team and have collaborative working through it.
I think with when we start like with levels of meaning, I think it hits on the purpose because it's kind of showing them like how she became an artist and how like what she loved and what she took, and kind of like getting them eventually to understand that like they can take something from nothing and make something
beautiful.
right.
So it's never just purpose and team.
I think it would be a lot of it is that purpose or that theme that like that like you're meeting this person who has all these ideas and like just takes junk, and how she started and how like she literally just started on a snow day, you know, and how could you spend your snow day, you know what I mean, like getting them to really think about like those kinds of things at the end, because then one of those that like if we're designing backwards, like that big end thing that they could do is create something out of junk. You know, and I was looking at this article, like it would be a good thing towards like the beginning of the year to kind of start with, to build, like start your close reading type things, to kind of create like in that first 5 weeks that creativeness and that like collaboration, and it's something that's fun, you know, it's not something that's going to take a lot of background knowledge to start the year with, but that
Good introduction.
right. So I think purpose and theme is something to be considered about being creative and taking something from nothing.
Yeah, because there's really not like many like multiple meanings of this text. There's
Because
really
it's
just a specific one.
because
Being pretty
structure wise, it's because it.
I mean, they kind of have like a little interview to me.
Right,
So would that be like
that would be under structure.
Yeah. That might be kind of new for some
That could be
kids.
under genre because it is an interview
Kind
because
of
they
like
have the
article.
questions, but it's also somewhat like biography because it's
Yeah.
talking about her as a little girl. So it kind of blends into those genres together. So
Yeah.
this would also be, I would look at it as genre. Even text features, because it does kind of have the headings and it has the the captions with the pictures. So text features is something also to be able to look at.
What's the difference between text features? Oh, no, right. Graphics would be pictures. So, right? Graphics would
Yeah.
be pictures.
But I think also too the narration, like who's narrating, because you have the person who wrote the beginning part of the article and asked the questions, and here underneath she is the one answering it too.
Yeah.
So narration gets a little bit confusing
yeah.
of who wrote the first part, because she's not saying I.
Yeah.
No.
If you look at the whole first part, it's she, her, and then you
And
get
the
to the
questions.
it changes into I. So again, narration is a big thing as well in this article. I don't want to go through and focus on everything with
No.
structure, so I'm just thinking graphics isn't really a big
No.
deal for this one.
Oh, there's
But I
not
think
much for it.
the genre and the narration and the text features is going to be kind of that big part right there.
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, and the
Because
knowledge
even the
demands, I don't think they
organization
need
is
background or
language
prior knowledge. I looked through, there's not too many words in here, like maybe wacky.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one of those words that,
Kind
But
of
that's
those fun
vocabulary
words
that you
that
can
are
build
just
into your
different.
kids, and also the cultural aspect of
Yeah.
it, because that's a way of making art. It's not just
I was gonna say that too.
different people does things differently. and
But I don't
their
see a
own-
whole lot of vocabulary in here that would,
either.
nothing really at all. So, maybe cultural
Yeah.
could be.
It might not have enough
Should we be writing
vocabulary for
underneath
you.
like what we're doing?
Jot your notes so you don't forget what you just
Okay.
said. It doesn't have to be a full sentence, just like
I was gonna,
And, and what I'm thinking is you might not use this article for vocabulary, but I will use it for
Right.
my ESL students. You know what I mean? There is more words I can use than just.
So for example, under structure, you might just put a bullet, interview.
Yeah,
who's
that's what I was,
talking.
yep. I was putting second person versus first person.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Having to do with the interview, text features, headings, captions, cultural art, made different ways.
And why this was written under purpose and theme, right? You said it's to
Be-
get to know this artist.
Get to know the artist,
create
being
stuff.
creative, making something out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like when there is a way, or when there is a will, there is a way
Mm-hmm.
type thing.
Was there anything under language conventions and clarity that it makes it complex? For example, are there dialects, archaic, scholarly?
I didn't see any of
think that
those.
No.
I would say none of them
Okay.
for the specific one at
In
least.
language convention. Yeah. I mean, but like under register though, like when she's answering the question, she's not answering in this like scholarly, like academically way. She's just, it's almost like you could imagine her sitting in a chair and just answering
talking.
and just talking and answering questions.
It's the conversation.
It's
though.
that conversational registry, like you're kind of talking with friends.
Maybe you want to ask a question about that then. Why not? Check that off, that it's a conversation.
That conversation, yeah.
Yeah, or at least half of the article is.
Right.
Mhm.
Conversation. I mean, looking at it, I wouldn't look at it as like it's really, really formal.
No, very informal.
All right, so you've got plenty, so do you, in analyzing it, do you feel it's complex enough and worthy of reading many times? Okay, good. That's what that part's for. Now I just want you to take like 5 minutes and pull up the standards, the Common Core standards. You can pull them from our website and think about which standards you can address with this. Just have a brief conversation about it. You don't have to do it all right now.
Stupid computer. Mine somehow like, when I shut it, it like turns itself off and I have to log back in and it's like taking forever.
Comprehension and collaboration.
Is there any way to pull them up on that screen quick? Because mine's not working.
Yeah, quick, do that.
Thank you.
Craft and structure, I feel like part of it.
I'd so buy something from her and put it in my lawn. They look like big lawn ornaments.
I was like, what are you doing there?
Oh, the computers are really slow. Holy
Yeah,
cow.
mine's not even logged in yet. It's Joanna's fault. We'll just blame Joanna.
I blame her for
First
most
one?
things.
I know, it's easy. Oh yeah, you're gonna have to make those way bigger.
Oh, yeah. So just gonna get to the right
Right.
page. So we're gonna start with informational text, 3rd grade.
One. How would you write that? You write it like.
So let's start with, is there anything from key ideas and details you might want to address?
Yeah, ask and answer questions to demonstrate understanding of text, referring explicit to the text is basics for the answers. Because it's when you are doing the first level of meaning, you just go back and respond to simple questions.
So you're saying number 1 here?
Uh-huh.
Okay, good.
And
So
then,
RI 3.1?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I have it as RL 3.1.
This is informational text, so we put RI.
Yeah, this is an informational text.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
version.
Move into that one.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the one fit, if it would be RI 3.1 or I would rather choose 3.2. Because I could ask my kids like, where did she get the idea to start? You know, and they could go back in and like, she decided to start with her 2nd grade son on winter break because they had a snow day. They can go back and like text dependently find that question. Or you could even ask questions like, when, you know, she builds animals out of, like, what does she build her animals out of?
Okay. So
I think
RI
3.2.
Okay.
You can't have both of them?
You can have both.
You could have both. I'm just looking at it as like I'd rather them find the main idea or the details to my text.
Okay.
Because I find that that's something that most of our kids tend to struggle with a lot more. They just want to tell you everything about it instead of finding those main ideas. So if I'm asking those text-dependent questions, it would hit our RI 3.2, finding those, you know.
Right there.
And when you're doing the text-dependent questions, I don't have to do just one. I can do multiple, right?
Oh, yeah.
Over a couple of days. Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm not like.
So
Because-
anything in craft and structure?
I mean, distinguishing their own point of view from the author, but it's kind of hard because it's half author, half interview. So it's like I don't really think much from craft and structure go.
Okay. Now, we haven't thought about bringing in another text. We might think about that when we get to phase 3 in planning, but, so can we think of,
You could even bring in like who's the local artist from Wisconsin?
That does the junk music.
No, she's a famous artist.
Integration of knowledge.
George O'Keeffe?
Yeah,
Describes logical.
you could even bring in a text about her too.
Yep.
You could even link this to like the book Oops.
Mhm.
You know that
That's what
Deanne
came
gave
to
us. That's what came to your mind.
mind.
Oops, or
She's mentioned
the
about the
dot,
beginning of the
or
year.
any of those things. Like I'm just thinking that this could be something like as I'm going through the first 5 weeks and doing Oops and the dot and ish and all those different
Creative.
we did it this year. The magnificent
The most magnificent.
the most
thing.
magnificent thing where she literally is taking junk in the junkyard, or Maggie Moon. She goes to the boys use their imagination and they build stuff out in the junkyard and then she helps
Right.
build stuff. So like you could totally compare this to another book.
So number 9.
Yeah.
So you might put RI 3.9 and make a note compared to.
Is this still going under reading? The
Yep,
key
this is
ideas,
still
craft
reading.
and structure. Okay.
Mhm.
So RI 3.9 you said?
Yep, under integration of knowledge and ideas.
Okay.
Mhm. So we've got some things with reading. Let's
Yep.
just, I'm gonna skip foundational. Let's see, writing, no. Speaking and listening. Let's see. Try to make that bigger.
We don't have a whole lot with the speaking and listening because we just,
Well, you could put this
mean-
right here, SL 3.2, because you talked about
okay.
that they're gonna do that.
Mhm.
Determining what?
Right, because they are, yeah.
Supporting teachers.
You might be teaching them, this along the way, I don't know. But
Using
you-
those, yeah.
You can see how, we might not be able to finish linking all of the standards right now. I
Right.
just wanted to show you what you would do,
SL.
okay?
No, and this makes sense. I mean, yeah, because our SL 3.6 works because you're going to be giving them sentence frames and you're going to have them turn and talk if it's the beginning of the year. You know, when I'm thinking about using this, it makes sense to get that sentence structure down for them.
And you might teach them the clarification question, like
Mhm.
asking, can you say more about that? Or
Mhm.
could you explain it another way? You might teach that at this point. All right, so we get the idea.
Yep.
And did you come up with essential understanding? And it's basically that the world around you is your canvas, you can make whatever.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so jot that down.
Nope.
Okay. Good.
I think that's what you want them to walk away with.
That you can make something out of nothing. I mean, they do that a lot. Not
something about
necessarily in an
imagination.
artistic way, but I mean out of their drama. I think something.
Right.
Hey, connection. Not really, not the.
Megan, what was the other book that you said that you read? You said Oops, Maggie Moon, and
The most
Ish?
magnificent thing, Ish and the Dot.
The most.
They're by Peter Reynolds, the Dot and Ish, right? Is that who writes those? Peter Reynolds, or is he the artist or the illustrator? Okay.
Just got that.
Yep.
Okay, so analyzing the text, you have to do it or you can't write your questions. Okay, and that's what we just did. This is the first step, is to collaboratively think through what makes this text complex. So we go on to phase 1. What does the text say? So these are our key ideas and details. So let's do the link. Let's look at I Will Thank No More Forever. And if you go I'm sorry it didn't print cleanly and things got moved around a bit. But you can see I put up here under Introduction to Close Reading Tasks, the text is a speech written by a Native American chief. Read to find out what Chief Joseph was saying in his speech. You can underline important words and phrases, or you can ask one of the questions and they have to read it. Then ask another question, they have to read it. These are exactly the questions that I asked you when we were together in the library. Okay, they're exactly there. I, again, bolded. So if you look under question type, I put the 2 question types that go with phase 1 right there so you can check them off. That doesn't mean you can't ask an inferential question on that first read. You might, and that's why I put other there. But that's a scaffold for you. I also gave you, on the far right, academic conversation, the things that we've generally taught. So you can check off, like, here's what I would use for the turn and talk, or the numbered heads together. So does that make sense? So that's my link for you. So what I'm going to give you now is the blank planner for all 4 phases. And then Joanna's going to hand out my guide that I created. And I created these based on John Paul, what he worked with us last year. So this is our first draft. As you work with this, we'll make changes and tweaks. So you have a planner box, and now Joanna just gave you a guide. So if you look at the phase 1 guide, what does the text say? That's meant to guide you in planning your work. So take a look at this piece right here, and I'd like you to just quickly skim that over. What does the text say? Because we're about to plan
Is there a
that.
stapler in here?
Oh, yeah.
These are just stapled backwards for my ability.
Go.
Thanks. Are we planning together right now?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
We're just briefly looking at the
reading
guide
that.
for
Got it.
phase 1. To guide your planning.
Mm-hmm.
About 30 more seconds, just to preview. So that's your cheat sheet. Now we're going to go to the book, and this is the expanded version. Starting on page 25 is chapter 2. This is all about phase 1 questions. So let's get a tab. You can label it phase 1 and tab page 25. 30 more seconds. Five. So if you want more details and examples, it's there, but I want to call your attention briefly to page 54. What you see there are QR codes obviously, but also all the videos we're going to watch today, you can watch them on your own if you go to that website that's listed there. It may ask you to, so they know you bought the book, it might say like, on page 54, what is the third word? And you can put that in and then you can get to all the videos. Okay? So we're going to watch, they just want to make sure you bought the book.
Okay.
We're going to watch Alex right now do, it's a second grade classroom. They're going to do phase 1 questions and it's about supply and demand. And the example that they're reading about is milk prices and how they go up and down. So we're going to watch this model and then you're going to write your phase 1 questions for your text.
The questions are up here and we're going to have a little discussion. Are you ready? We are dealing with milk prices on the rise, supply and demand, text-dependent questions. Every time I ask a question, I will give you an opportunity to do a quick 20-second discussion with your team. Keep it as a whisper because I don't want the other teams to hear what you're doing. I don't even want them to hear what you're thinking. Got it? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, first question. Level 1, which is pretty easy. You shouldn't be missing these questions because they are right in the text. Easiest question. Ready? Begin.
What do farmers feed their milk cows?
10 seconds. Oh, Jamar, let's get over there. Andre, what do farmers feed their milk cows?
Farmers feed their milk cows a ton of corn.
What paragraph is that in?
It's in paragraph 2.
Agree or disagree? Avril, can you repeat what he said?
They feed the milk cows corn on paragraph 2.
Next question. Ready? Begin.
Why do farmers feel they need to increase the price of their milk?
Guys, this is from the text. Why do they feel they need to increase the price of their milk? Look it up. Make sure you know which paragraph it is in. Julia, go for it.
The farmers feel like they need to increase the price of milk because they need to feed the cows milk, the cows corn, and the corn is a year ago it used to be 115 a ton, and now it's 180 a ton.
So what's happening to the cost of the corn?
That it's increasing. It's getting
Let's go with the next question. Ooh, what is increasing the demand for milk? Go to your parking place. What are we looking for the demand? Are we looking for demand of what product? For milk. Now look at the paragraph that you said. Are they talking about milk in this paragraph?
No, they're just talking about
No. So it can't be in that paragraph. Ladies and gentlemen, what is increasing the demand for milk? Andrew, we haven't heard from you yet.
The thing that's increasing the demand for milk is experts are telling people to drink 3 cups of milk a day.
Why in the world would that increase the demand for milk? Who could add on to that? Why would that increase? Experts are telling people to drink cups of milk a day? Who are those experts usually?
The doctor?
Yeah, the doctor. And people want to be real healthy and they're real fit. So if the demand increases, the supply goes down and the price. First step for developing questions for a close reading lesson, you really do have to know the text. So you're doing not only a multiple read like the kids are doing, but you're looking for things and trying to think in the perspective of a child, especially when you're getting onto the level 2s, trying to determine ahead of time what vocabulary do you want to key on. Then you go through the steps of looking at the levels of the questioning. Of course, their recall. And being a primary grade teacher, you're still developing that skill of getting the children to look and use that text and to be able to find the information from the text. So first step is developing the question based on the text and that it's an easy answer to find within the text.
So, your turn. Go back to your text and start jotting down some text-dependent questions leading to that essential understanding. We'll give you maybe 5-7 minutes to just do that, so we get to phase 2.
And you have a whole page here for like,
Just in case you need room for a lot, I didn't know how many.
I mean, I've already thought of 2.
Okay,
We're doing this
perfect.
as a team, right?
Yep, you're working
Okay.
as a team, but you can all jot it down.
So things such as like, what does Lisa make her art from? Like, what does she build her animals out of?
Yes, and before you even jot that down, I forgot to tell you something. Did you hear them talk about paragraphs? Before
was-
they even
yep,
read,
I
we've
saw
got to
that.
number the paragraphs. Yes. So, and
So
you're going to
it's
have to teach kids how to do that because some
Word
texts
indent,
are organized
yeah.
differently. So for now, go ahead and number them.
It's kind of hard because these aren't really in paragraphs, but I would do where the headings are as my.
Yep.
Yeah.
So paragraphs is deceiving. It can be chunks of idea, it depending on the text and how you're all going to do that.
6.
Okay, so back to Megan's question. What does she make her art out of? What paragraph has the
Paragraph
answer?
2, midway down, it says, but so like when it says, if I'm starting, for example, if I'm using this at the beginning of the year, it says she builds animals out of. So what like part of my questions asking, what does Lisa build her animals out of? Because it's got that first part of that sentence that it's going to be easier for them to find right away.
Yep.
To do it that way.
And then I would put the sentence frame right below
Right.
your question. Just label it
But
SF.
then you could even, take this into a language and how you list things with commas.
Yes, isn't that awesome? I know. There's so much you could get from a good complex text.
Mm-hmm.
You say paragraph 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So would you do the next sentence, the next one down? Like you wouldn't share correct? Like this is one question.
That's one
this is
question.
another
And the next question would be the next box. But what would your sentence frame be?
She builds animals with
Right.
and
There you go.
How many hms was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then.
And if you want to jot in the possible responses, you can.
Oh, like the answer to the questions?
Right. And
Now
that
this would
maybe-
be where I'd have them go back now and highlight in the text, like the answer, right?
Right, so you'd ask after they've read it through once and get the
Right.
general gist. So your first question might not be what she builds them out of. Maybe your first question's a general understanding. You're asking a key
Oh yeah, I'm
key
asking
detail
details.
question. Your first question might be a general understanding. What does this woman
What does
do?
Lisa do? Yeah,
Like,
what does Lisa do?
Why? Yeah, so you might
I'll just
switch
switch
that
these
around.
around, yep.
Didn't even think that. You probably want
So
to
I
ask
might
that
too.
general, right?
So it'd be paragraph 1 and she makes playful art, right?
Does. It could just be
She makes art.
Lisa makes art.
Okay.
And then if they really are paying attention, she makes art out of
Junk.
junk.
Yes.
So you'd have them read it first, then give them that question, and they might need to reread. But you're gonna have to show them how to do that the first time through.
Yeah, and I noticed that when we introduced it, they kind of struggled a little bit like wanting to reread it, but then when we like made the comment like we had to do this and we reread and like it helped us and they were like, okay, we can do this then. And they started to pick it up, and
Okay.
as the questions progressed, I think their interest progressed as well.
Oh, yeah, I bet they
So
did.
that was really cool to see.
So you would have them read it and then ask them a question and then you would read it? Because then here it said that they wanted you to read it a second time.
Yeah, like maybe you read it, you wouldn't have to necessarily, but you know we have kids at all different levels.
Yeah.
We want them to read it first, but then you...
I did it, and when I did it, they
You
read
did
it.
or didn't?
I did. I've
Okay.
done 2 articles now. The first time, gave it to them, had them read it. Then I had them quickly turn and talk for like 30 seconds and I didn't tell them what to talk about. I
Just
just
talk
gave
about
them the free, like, what, did you learn something? Did you like something? Whatever you
Right.
want to talk about.
Yep.
And then I brought them back, and then I had like 2 people share out just so that they got to be heard. And then I gave them the question on the board, and then I prompted them, which the first time they hated it because they didn't want to. I just read it. I know the answer already. So we had to like go through, and when we reread, we don't just reread till we find the answer. We read through everything. So like you may find the answer, but I want you to keep reading because maybe there's something else. And then finally by the second time they knew that they had to reread through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So the rereading part wasn't, and they're not long.
No.
So when you're like, look it's really short. And if you keep reminding them that it's really short, they don't think of it as like being really long. But then they do, and then they go back and they highlight, and then they put their pencils down and they wait, and then turn and talk and share what you found as your answer. And then I take a person to share what they found, and they can either agree or disagree or add on or whatever. And then I would have them respond in their notebook then with that question with the sentence frame.
And if some students are struggling with the reading, you might need to read it to them
Well, that's what
for the second
that's what I
read,
saw
but
in here too. Teacher reads aloud, which I was like, oh, I never thought about that either.
You
Like I
don't
was just
have
having
to.
them do it, but I
Mhm.
do have a few that I could, while the rest are reading independently, pull a couple of those kids like to the hallway where it's still quiet in there and read to them.
You could.
But you
could.
still want to
Partner
give
read.
them
A chance to
a
read
chance
on their own.
Well, right
struggle
after,
first,
yep,
one
after,
time
yep,
through.
after the first time through, yep. Because you know those ones
And
that are
then-
struggling because they're like done it like this, and you're like, yeah, I know you didn't read all that that quickly. So, another question that I was on here was, like a very basic text dependent is like, where does she find her garbage? Like, where does she find her junk?
Does it say like at
Yep,
the
in
garbage?
around her house, in the garbage, or at the town garbage dump. Also in paragraph 2.